Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, I am responsible to share the activities of Milbita of Bangladesh. And what I want to tell the realities of the Milbita, and on the basis of the realities, how we can reach out to the dreams of the million farmers. The topic I want to share with you: what is the Milbita, what is its activities and achievements, how it's performing on dairy marketing, product and milk, and the most important, especially to Bangladesh, how this dairy activity is contributing on nutrition security, socio-economic and public health performances of smallholder dairying, and challenges not only Milbita, but also what is the challenges of the country, Bangladesh, to develop this smallholder. Actually, before going into the details, as you heard that I am from Bangladesh Livestock Research Institute, but two bosses here from the Milbita, Bangladesh Milk Producers Cooperative Union Limited. Milbita is the short name. The name is coming from product brand name. One is the managing director, Mr. Munir Choudhury, and the other one is the farmers elected chairman, Mr. Hasif Khan, with us. So actually, Milbita, or the Bangladesh Milk Producers Cooperative Union Limited, was established in 1973 on the recommendation of FAO and Danida. And the recommendation was formulated in the light of the success of Anand model of India at that time. And actually this Milbita, based on different, private companies and private initiatives, as you see on the bottom. In 1946, someone initiated this milk marketing. Then it is, gradually turned into the Milbita. The objectives of the Milbita is, that the organizing the farmers into societies, supporting them with fair milk price, and ultimately the dairy development of the country. This organization, the Milbita, actually is a public shared dairy marketing organization. It functions on the rural development and cooperative division of the government of Bangladesh. Other organizations are there. They also work on dairy production as a whole. Dairy production as a whole. And that is the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, where the Department of Livestock Services, and Bangladesh Livestock Research Institute, where I work, they also functions on dairy development of the country. Out of that, there are private entrepreneurs who also work on dairy marketing of the country, and they are bigger or smaller, more than 9 in number. This is the map. Actually, I colored the district of the country where Milbita is supporting the farmers, not the whole district. They call it milk shed area. In certain areas of a district, in the colored districts, they used to support the farmers, and the color concentration depends on the percentage of milk they used to collect from different areas. This organization have a network of more than 97,000 of farmers. They have got 2,306 societies and they used to cover at about 33 milkshed areas of the country. As I said to you that as a public shared organization, Milvita and the other private entrepreneurs market the milk. Let us see how the two organizations, one is public shared and another is the private, totally private, share the marketing of liquid milk. Every day, around 400,000 kilo of milk is marketed as pasteurized milk. Milvita, market about 46%, and the rest private sector share about 54%. And out of the products, Milvita leads in powdered milk production, butter, and butter oil. And the private entrepreneurs, they lead in flavored milk, marketing, ice cream, and curd. And other smaller products, chocolates, something, that also marketed by the Milvita. Let us come to the animal genotypic diversity and the farmers level covered by the Milvita. As you see, this graph shows you that the local, this is Pabna, this is also local, but a bit improved. This is common local, as you can say, and this is Pabna in certain, is the name comes from certain area. Both are the actually the local animal, native animals, and they have crossbreds of Sahiwal, Frisian, and Jersey. And like other areas, Frisian is the leader. Frisian crosses, they are the leader, and they composes 48.4% of the total cows, supported by the Milvita. On the right, you see here the heifers to cows ratio. And as you see here, the Jersey newly introduced, and this heifers to cow ratio is 1.88, and farmers are coming forward with their Jersey crosses. So this is newly introduced germplasm in the Milvita area, so their replacement ratio is very high. About the support of inputs, one of them is the fodder seeds, and Milvita used to support the cuttings or seed of high-yielding fodders, especially of Napier, and they have collaboration with Bangladesh Livestock Research Institute. They used to take this germplasm and they extend these cuttings to the farmers, and as you see here, they started in 1998, and still they are continuing it, and the farmers are cultivating the fodders. And this is on the right, the graph shows you the relation between cropland ownership and the fodder land ownership. And you see there is no definite pattern, scatter. And that shows you see, even a farmer having no land, they also cultivate fodder for feeding their animals. The question is where they get this land. They used to take leased-in land, cultivate fodder for their animals, or even they used to market this fodder for the dairy farmers. And this slide shows you that, shows you the other input support. The organization support veterinary treatment facilities, artificial insemination services, and they form societies, and the preventive health care as well, the vaccinations. So with the time, this support system is going steadily up with some fluctuations, except the veterinary treatments. This is recently is going down. The reasons, these definite reasons are not there, Maybe the farmers are taking their treatment services from the government, hospitals or government doctors, or the Millvita may have reduced the treatment services. They may be more smart to have preventive measures for the animals. On the right, as you see here, the liquid milk marketing is almost linearly going up with up and down recently. And the other one is the production is, it was high in 2008, and recently they are more interested to market liquid milk instead of product. That's the balance sheet that slide shows you. Is definitely Millvita is a profitable organization, no doubt at all. But the profit margin is varying from 1 million to even $2.5 million in a year. And recently they have some fluctuations, but still they are having profit of 4% out of their business. Now these lot of controversies on dairy, but let us see what actually a country like Bangladesh give importance. That's the socio-economic performance of Bangladesh dairy. That data is coming from the Millvita farmers. On my left, this chart shows you the different the category of farmers and how they are making profit out of dairying. This is the monthly profit. Even a landless farmer, he or she also make profit of more than $100 a month. And that's a great asset for this landless farmer, marginal farmer. Similarly, they are making profit. And the margins, profit margins is varying from $78 to even $300 for farm per month. So that's a very profitable animal enterprises. And definitely, as you see this relation, the profit margins, going up with the production of milk by the farmers. And then livelihood and employment, I try to quantify how this dairying, help the livelihood of the farmers. If 1 ton of liquid milk is produced, it supports at least more than 67% of the annual income of at least 35 farmers. So if you produce 1 ton of liquid milk and market it, that will help more than 67% of the annual income of at least 35 farmers. And that includes different types of farm category, either non-farm households or farm households. And this is not a good relation, I agree with you, but still what we can calculate that if a farmer keeps 28 cattle, total cattle, including 11 milking cows, this farm can generate 1.94 man days daily. That is the employment generation of the smallholder dairy under the Millvita. And this nutrition, as the lady was presenting the milk nutrition to the human, and as you see then, when a farmer keeps smallholder dairying, he is allowing at least 1.39 kilo milk daily for his or her family. Affording this milk daily by a non-farmer, non-dairy farmer is costly. Supporting finance is difficult. So that's another benefit. If you want to provide nutrition to the rural farm families, even the landless, so dairy is a tool. Smaller dairy is a tool, and effective tool. And this is, you see, women empowerment, the goal of the millennium, we used to talk. But if you want to have the empowerment of the women of the rural area, you must have resource. They used to have, they don't have land. So you need resource. Except land in the rural area, what are the resources? Either it is livestock, fisheries, or forestry. So livestock is the very potential one. As you see here, both male and female share, family dairying equally. Females, they share the activities. About 30 to 46% of the dairying activities is shared by the female and the rest by the male. And not only that, about 8.82% of the farmers, the total farmers, more than 97,000 farmers, is run by the female. They are the owner of the farms. So they are having the resource, they are earning money as it is profitable. And when they have got money, so they have got power. They have got power to rule the family. So that is the empowerment. And you see, when I distributed the cattle number against the female farmers, and they used to keep low number of animal for the different possibly socioeconomic region. And this is a graph what one of my PhD student actually did this work in his PhD research. And what he did, actually, he collected data on 2 food base. I would say how smallholder dairy keeping helping the environment. This is the table. As you see, and there are 2 feed base. One is the good feed base, what the smallholder dairy of the milk beta. They used to feed their animals to have more milk. So that is the good feed base. And non-milk bit area, where the animals are kept traditionally, they don't actually feed, according to their requirement, but they used to feed traditionally. So that is the poor feed base. And he has 2 genotypes. One is the local, and the other one is the cross genotypes. He had 2 seasons, the dry season and the wet season. And the indicator, as you see, live weight, there was significant difference in live weight between the 2 feed bases. And obviously, there should be difference between the local and crosses. And there was, difference in diameter intake per head. And it was similar. There was a difference in local and crosses. Crosses would have more diameter intake. There was, the good food base produce more milk with higher fat percent, although the fat percent is not significantly different. And the 4 feed base produce, average low milk daily, lower amount of milk, and the fat percent also is lower. And similar to the feed base, the local produce lower amount of milk, and their fat percent is higher, and the crosses produce more milk and low fat percent. There was no actually significant difference between the dry and the wet seasons. But why I present this data before you, you see the methane production per kilo milk production is almost half. This is enteric methane emission. Enteric methane emission is almost half in the good feed base and in the crosses compared to the poor feed base or the local. And seasonal difference is absent, it's not significant. But definitely, as they produce more milk, so the emission factor is higher in the good feed base and also in the crosses. So implications is that if we can reduce low productive animals, or if we can increase the productivity of the animals, whether it is local or crossbred origins, we can definitely reduce the enteric methane emissions. This is the figure actually yesterday was shown and the similar, this is the data I just plotted against the kilo milk per day. And as you see there, when you can increase the milk production above 5 liters per day, you can drastically reduce the enteric methane emission even in the local cows. And this is another one, actually, I would say that the farmers are becoming smarter and smarter. This is community dairying. I mean, the farmers community is joining together, and they are having a community biogas plant. And this is the case study, Tiarband community biogas plant. And this is the data. They used to feed this digester with 2,000 kilo waste per day, including, dung, produce gas about 7,208 cubic meter. And they used to supply biogas to 42 families, nearby families, and in the exchange of 500 taka per month. And they also supply to dairy farms to support their biogas requirement. They used to produce electricity and connected 28 families, and they used to charge for them. And the biofertilizer is possibly the major one. And they used to produce daily 500 to 600 kilo biofertilizer, and they sell it to the Rural Development Academy, RDA of Bangladesh. They take this and they packet it and they market it. And I am finishing two slide possibly. I'm sorry. And even they have the water supply system to the families. So this is 2012 balance sheet, and see that this plant is making profit more than $5,000 in the year 2012. So dairy is not a dairy. I would say this is a biological enterprise for the rural farmers of the country. This slide shows you, I would be quicker. Shows you the FAO recently introduced the school milk feeding program in the Milk Beta area. As you see, the FAO boss of Bangladesh visiting the area, and the Secretary, Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, they also visited the schools where the milk was fed. The milk was given by the Milk Beta, 200 ml per day, and Milk Beta is supporting this milk supply, 400 kilo daily. And this is actually 6 months data. And you see there, when you are giving milk to children, they are having more height and more weight. And definitely the difference is significant with that of control schools. So they are drinking milk, so they are having better nutrition and better health, as we have seen from the first presentation. Now, actually, this is something on the country perspectives. Actually, what about the domestic scenario of the domestic production of the milk? As you see here, the domestic growth of milk production is only 2.68%. It's slow. And import growth, we are importing powder milk as well, and it is more than 18%. It's not good especially for the poor farmers who actually can be benefited in terms of the livelihood and income. Annual per capita, we are having about 25 kilo, but the country target is to have more than 90 kilo. So what we can do, we definitely, we have to increase the production. Our buffalo dairy actually share only 2.29% of the total milk. So there is a scope of increasing the buffalo milk production, buffalo dairy in the country. And the other one is the most important and limiting factor, what we discussed from the yesterday, is the nutritional condition, supply of feeds sustainably to animals. And as you see, our condition is very poor. And we are deficit about 45% of the energy required by the farm animals. And in terms of digestible crude protein, it is 75% deficit. So that's a huge deficit in the country. And the options should be there to increase the availability of quality feed, and that should be sustainably to help the farmers. having more milk. And marketing, as you see, structured milk market, what actually extended by the Milk Beta or the other private entities is only 7.64% of the total milk. And 34 to 39% of the milk is marketed by the middlemen. And when they are there, they exploit the farmers by price and by weight as well. In addition, quality control is a big challenge when they used to market this milk. Local market share about 55%. And what I want to share with you, the Milk Beta only covers 1.21% of the total lactating cows in the country. So in any way or other, the milk marketing support should be extended. And the country actually, what India has got, about a boss is there, organizational boss, the Dairy Development Board. The countries, you say, don't have a boss in terms of organization. So the country may have a coordinating body to increase this dairy production. And the last, I should say that, yes, we can share the experience of others, our neighbor, India. They have good experience on dairy. And if we share their experience, possibly we will be very helpful. And we possibly be benefited if there is any regional platform for supporting, sharing policies and the other, the planning activities in dairy development, especially the smallholder dairy of the country. And thank you very much for your kind patient.